like, I think I speak for you. Disagree if you want. We've been around together, I think, a combined 40 years in the business. I don't think you and I, and we kicked around a few speculations about tonight and today. We could have never come up with this. We couldn't. I mean,
This has never happened.
no.
This is totally just like the other. What was it? This all started really with the spiking of that poll, and this. I mean, what? This is just nuts. And now we end up here. I mean, people are going to have a field day. The Sanders people are inherently suspicious. They're just going to have a field day with this, and this is going to sow all sorts of distrust headed into the rest of this contest. And it this could be a real problem for them. I mean, this could be such a gift to Donald Trump, really. I mean,
I
this
think
could be
it
the
could be a gift
start
to
of a gift.
Trump, Biden. Well, Biden will get the shit bag on the porch, but Bernie will probably do all right no matter what the results say. No one will believe them unless it's good. But
Right.
let me say this while I have you on here, because I had you on the other night, and people were complaining about Mitch McConnell. Oh, he's stretching this thing out, and it's going to be another one of these leaks of the manuscripts, and take a look at this shit. You got a Super Bowl, and let me say, a hell of a Super Bowl, one of the best in the last. Well, I guess
Great
we had
game.
a great game with Seattle and New England a few years back. We had New England coming back to beat Atlanta a couple years ago, but I'm telling you, a phenomenal game. And that, of course, was all anybody was talking about today. And as soon as they shifted off of the Super Bowl, they went right into Iowa, and this was going to be a big news day for Iowa. Well, it has turned out so badly for Iowa that it's going to be a huge news day right up until the State of
In
the
the
Union
State of the
tomorrow night.
Union.
That no one's going to notice anything about the last 20 senators who had to speak, who didn't speak today, which, by the way, no one was listening to. No one knew there were closing arguments other than losers.
No, nobody cared. This is a
So I mean, it
day
that
after the
shit is
Super
done.
Bowl.
That day is done. It's wiped out, and now tomorrow's done. It's wiped out. We're gonna go out on the high note. We get the last word, State of the Union, and then Wednesday, it's acquittal time, baby. It's acquittal time, and we're probably gonna pull two, if not three, for at least one of the two articles from the Democrats, and I don't think we'll lose more than one on our side. So either way, I think Mitch McConnell again. And the reason I bring you on to that side of the argument on this subject matter is because not everybody trusts my opinion on that, because there's a lot of fanboy bullshit going on in the world these days. I'm certainly not what you would call a residual Mitch McConnell fanboy. I've had my problems over the years, but the way he handled Kavanaugh and the way he handled this issue with impeachment was flawless, man. Up till now, unless there's some kind of crazy surprise, absolutely flawless. And the negotiation to give 100 senators 10 minutes to tell their constituents why they're going to do what they're going to do. And we heard from Joe Manchin today that he's pretty much going to vote not guilty on
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, he
He
is.
like censure, which is not going to ever get off.
That's never going to happen.
No.
Right.
So just tell me, or not only telling me, tell my followers here and some of yours that Mitch McConnell is no joke. That this was a heavy lift, and he did it.
Yeah, I would tell people to, go to the juxtaposition. Remember the days of Ryan being in the speaker, being the speaker with the gavel, and how easily a leader could drop the ball and everything turn into a complete mess. McConnell is, I would tell people don't trust McConnell because he's worth trusting. Look at McConnell's own interests and where, what does it serve him to have this this drag on to a point where he exposes the president and then makes it a risk that there could be something that is either protracted or more from his side jump ship. He doesn't need any of that. That would not serve him. So I would tell people, don't trust McConnell for the sake of trusting him or because you think he's trustworthy. But he knows his shit when it comes to political strategy. He had this down. We could conceivably have seen, 2, 3 Republican senators jump ship.
Easily.
It could have, it really, with the way this went. Reporters, I understand people were fearful that there would be something that would be leaked throughout and, be the Kavanaugh model. But
Hmm.
this is something Mitch McConnell saw coming. I mean, there was the Super Bowl, and then there was the Iowa caucus,
Yeah,
and then there's the State of the Union. He's not an idiot,
it was
and this,
beautiful.
it was right. It was well planned. Give them their 10 minutes to talk, people. Let me also say that, from McConnell has to deal with these people on a daily basis. A
Yeah.
lot of people on Twitter don't realize it. These reporters are like whining and crying about how they have to go cover the Super Bowl and then run to Iowa and then run back to DC for the State of the Union. Believe me, these aren't overachievers, so
Yeah.
the opportunity, and it's just, I'm not trying to be a funny guy there. It's just true. The opportunity there, for them to sneak something in, even if they did. I mean, I think we saw a couple of like subsequent attempts from the New York Times. They just weren't sticking. So
No.
he had this down. It was a 3-day window, and he locked it in, by the way, before they ever left and adjourned. So this was always going to end like this, Adam. It was just,
Of course
well,
it
once
was.
he did that, it wasn't going to until we got to that point, and then he locked it in. And when they disappeared, by the way, people who are really glued to their television will probably remember what I'm talking about. They were late. They were supposed to come back.
Mhm.
They had disappeared while everybody was gone. He was working this. The machinations were going on behind the scene, and all of that was already pre-approved and screened with the White House. How this was going to go down.
Yeah, you could tell that because
100% signed on
I
to it.
want people to know, if you watch the footage, you can actually see that Mitch never leaves the floor. Cornyn doesn't leave the floor. Barrasso doesn't leave the floor. Blunt doesn't leave the floor. They stay in the corner. It was a message to anybody who could discern it, that the Democrats were the one having to figure out how to handle this.
What to do
The
next?
Republicans
Yep.
already said, we had the votes. You tell us what it's going to take to get out of here. Whatever, you got the senators that want to get out to Iowa. We don't. And it was a beautiful.
Yeah, you're holding them up if you continue with
Yes,
this amendment after amendment after amendment. You're going to
absolutely.
hold up Klobuchar. You're going to hold up Bernie's. And that was the dirty little secret, Adam. That
Yep,
media
of course it
was
was.
not telling people, we're not telling viewers and readers. Democrats wanted out of there just as bad as
Of
Republicans,
course they
and
did.
they were catching so much flack. And nobody ever hears that end of it, but they wanted to go. And by the way, when all of that was said and done, you know who actually went in and sat next to Mitch McConnell, which was a clear signal to Schumer, this is over, was Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah,
And that was before she ever put out the statement that this is how I'm going to vote. Once they
yeah.
had their powwow and they said, you know what, the ball's in your court, Chuck.
He had that, by the way, a week ago with her,
Definitely.
and it was a fact
They were just waiting
known
to pull
to a
the
few
trigger on
people
the.
that Murkowski already made up her mind on witnesses and acquittals prior to Lamar. And when Lisa made up her mind, it made it easier for Lamar. And then once Lamar made up his mind, he just wanted to bask in the glory of it. He's in his final, year here. He's like hanging out down in the
I'll
leadership.
do a thread.
Yeah, exactly. It was so easy to read for me. I've done this at the state level. I can see how it works at the national level. Honest to God, if you can put pressure like that onto your minority caucus, where you've got 3 senators that want to get the hell out, including one, Bernie, who thought it was the difference between winning or losing. And he was ready to call out his own leader for forcing him to stay. We had all the cards in our hands, and Mitch played the hand beautifully.
And that was his last.
About it all.
That was his last Bernie, that last step to the microphone that he took. That was like his last warning to Chuck Schumer when they said, what would you rather do here? And he said, well, what do you think? Of course, I'd rather be in Iowa. I don't want to be here. And that when he did that, that's when it started to unravel for him a little bit, for Schumer. It's like, oh, now he's going to make a problem, because another little secret is Hillary Clinton's kind of right about Bernie Sanders, at least, Democratic voters like Bernie Sanders, or at least his core constituency, the heart of the party of the activist progressive movement. They love Bernie Sanders, but up on Capitol Hill, they can't stand him.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks he's a nice guy. Nobody gets along with him. And if he comes out to the microphone and says, and I don't want to be here. Then Schumer's thinking, they're going to give me a problem. And all Mitch is doing is sitting there. Ball's in your court, Chuck. Ball's in your court. I'll give you your 10 minutes, but we're voting on Wednesday. And that's it. And that's how it went. And again, I really, for the people who are they're Trump supporters and they're skeptical of Mitch McConnell, he was, they were holding hands this entire time, guys. They were holding hands. They were, he picking up the phone. This is how it's going to go. You're cool with that. That's how it went.
Well, I think more or less leadership in the Senate's talking to Cipollone and Jay and Cipollone are taking the messages back to the president, and the president's signing off on this because he knows he's out of his element. And I think that's what happened, and that was good. Everything worked out. I don't have too many arguments with the way that they took care of business.
Thanks for watching the MAGA Coalition channel. Remember to subscribe to our channel and turn notifications on to get the best political analysis that is free of clickbait and gaslighting. Because in a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary